The sun of the alien world, Virelia, glowed pale green in the sky. Its twin moons cast long shadows over the jagged crystal forests that stretched across the horizon. Among the tall, glimmering trees walked Lyria, a lithe alien woman with shimmering silver skin and eyes that glowed like molten amber. Her heart was heavy. She had spent days wandering through the forests, searching for any trace of her human lover, Ethan, who had disappeared during a dangerous expedition. Ethan was different from the aliens Lyria had grown up with. His skin was soft and pale, his hair a rich brown, and his eyes held a curiosity that never seemed to end. He had arrived on Virelia as part of an interstellar research team, but he had chosen to stay, drawn to the planet's mysteries and to Lyria herself. Their bond had grown quickly, though some on Virelia considered it unusual for an alien to care so deeply for a human. But now, that bond seemed broken. Lyria had seen the energy readings from the last expedition. The scans had shown a violent storm in the crystal expanse, where Ethan had been collecting rare minerals. The storm had been powerful, one that could destroy a human in minutes. When the storm cleared, there was no sign of him. Not his tracks, not his equipment, nothing. Lyria's chest tightened as she recalled the day of the disappearance. She had watched from a distance as Ethan climbed a crystalline ridge to take readings. His small frame looked fragile against the towering crystal spires. "Be careful," she had shouted, but the wind had carried her voice away. By the time she reached the ridge, the storm had begun, tossing shards of crystal like jagged knives. She had called his name until her voice was hoarse, but Ethan had vanished. Now, as Lyria walked through the crystal forest, she felt the weight of despair pressing on her shoulders. Every shadow seemed like it could hide him. Every shimmer of light could be a sign. Yet deep inside, a spark of hope refused to die. She refused to accept that Ethan was gone. Lyria stopped at the edge of a cliff overlooking the expanse. The crystals below reflected the green sunlight, creating a dazzling maze of light. She could see the remnants of the storm, shattered crystal, twisted metal, and deep fissures in the ground. She knelt down and touched a shard, hoping for a sign. A faint trace of energy lingered. It was weak, but it was enough. Her mind raced. The expanse was dangerous, and most aliens would never dare enter it after a storm. But Lyria had to try. Ethan's human resilience, his ingenuity, had always amazed her. He would find a way to survive, and she would find him. She could not allow the storm to end their story. Determined, Lyria returned to the settlement at the edge of the expanse. The alien village was small, built from crystal and metal, glowing softly at night. The inhabitants were wary of humans, and even Lyria had faced judgment for her attachment. Many believed humans were too fragile for life on Virelia, too vulnerable to survive its harsh elements. But Lyria had never believed that. Ethan was human, yes, but his spirit was strong and his mind was clever. That combination made him extraordinary. Inside her home, Lyria accessed the ancient maps of Virelia. The maps were etched in light on crystal panels, showing routes, energy currents, and hidden pockets of the planet. She scanned every possible area where Ethan could have survived. Some sections of the expanse were marked as forbidden, full of dangerous energy fluctuations and predator zones. But Lyria's determination overrode fear. She studied the maps late into the night, marking paths and noting resources she might need. As she worked, memories of Ethan filled her mind. She remembered the first time they met. He had been fascinated by the crystal formations, asking questions no other human dared to ask. He had a way of seeing beauty in patterns, of noticing details others overlooked. Lyria had been captivated by his mind and soon by his gentle humor and courage. Together they had explored caves, climbed cliffs, and mapped regions unknown even to many Virelians. Her heart ached at the thought of losing him. She thought of his laugh, the way he would tilt his head when puzzled, and how he always trusted her instincts. It was more than love. It was a partnership built on mutual respect and admiration, and she refused to let it end here. Early the next morning, Lyria prepared for her journey. She packed her survival kit, filled with energy crystals, nutrient packs, and tools for navigation. She included a device capable of detecting energy signatures similar to human biosignals. If Ethan was alive, even in hiding, she would find him. Before leaving, she visited the memorial marker she had placed where the storm had taken him. The marker was a simple crystal etched with his name and the date of the disappearance. Lyria touched it and whispered, "I will find you, Ethan, I promise." She felt the cold metal of the shard beneath her fingers, a reminder of the storm's power. Yet she also felt the warmth of hope. Lyria's journey into the expanse began cautiously. The forest was quiet, but danger lingered in every shadow. She encountered remnants of the storm, jagged crystals that could slice through armor, energy fields that hummed with unstable power, and creatures that had adapted to the harsh environment. Using her knowledge of the land and her careful planning, she navigated these obstacles with skill. Days passed. Lyria followed faint energy trails, signs of movement that could only belong to a human or a human-made device. She came across abandoned equipment, partially buried under crystal shards. Some of it belonged to other explorers, but a small device emitted a faint signal she recognized immediately. It was Ethan's. Her heart leapt. He had survived the storm. He was alive. The realization gave Lyria renewed strength. She pressed forward, knowing the path ahead would be more dangerous than anything she had faced. The expanse was vast, and while she had found signs of Ethan, the environment was unpredictable. The weather could shift without warning, and predators lurked in hidden tunnels and crystal caves. Yet every step brought her closer to him. At night, Lyria camped under the glow of bioluminescent crystal formations. She studied the energy patterns she had detected, trying to estimate Ethan's location. Sleep was hard to come by, but determination kept her alert. She thought about what she would say when she found him, how relief and joy would mix with worry and anger at the dangers he had faced alone. She imagined their reunion, the moment when the fear and uncertainty would end. While resting, she noticed unusual signals in the distance. They were faint but distinct, not the natural energy flows of the planet. Lyria analyzed them, confirming her hope. They matched Ethan's biosignature. He was close. Her mind raced with possibilities. He could be injured, trapped, or hiding from something. She had to be careful but fast. The next morning, she followed the signals through a narrow canyon. The walls were sharp, reflecting sunlight like mirrors. Every step required caution. Then she saw signs of recent activity, footprints in the crystalline dust, fragments of human tools, and marks on the walls that indicated someone had climbed or crawled through. Lyria's pulse quickened. She was near. As the sun reached its peak, Lyria reached a small plateau overlooking a hidden valley. She scanned the area, and in the distance she saw a faint figure moving slowly. It was hunched and cautious, but the outline was unmistakable. Her heart nearly stopped. Could it be? Could it really be Ethan? She dropped to her knees and whispered a silent prayer. The figure stopped and turned as if sensing her presence. Lyria's breath caught. The shape looked human, small and fragile against the massive alien landscape, but alive. Her hope surged into certainty. Ethan was alive. He had survived. Tears filled Lyria's eyes, but she held back her voice. She needed to be careful. The last thing she wanted was for him to panic or run. She needed to approach gently, to make sure he knew she was there and that he was safe. Her heart pounded as she began to move closer, every step measured, every movement deliberate. For the first time since the storm, Lyria felt something she had almost lost: hope. The journey ahead was still dangerous, and many questions remained. How had Ethan survived? What had he endured? And what dangers still lay between them? But for now she had found him. He was alive, and that knowledge gave her strength beyond anything she had ever known. Lyria crouched behind a jagged crystal outcrop, her amber eyes fixed on the human figure in the distance. Ethan moved slowly, clearly weakened by the storm and the days of survival. Every careful step he took reminded her of the fragility of humans in this alien world, yet also of their remarkable resilience. She had always admired that about him. She waited until he paused to examine a broken tool before moving forward. The canyon between them was narrow, lined with sharp crystal shards that could cut through the strongest alien armor if one was careless. Lyria carefully chose each step, her lithe form moving silently over the glimmering surfaces. The wind carried her hair and the faint scent of the alien forest, but she remained focused. As she moved closer, she noticed Ethan scanning the ground. He was examining the faint tracks left behind by some alien creatures, likely predators that had survived the storm. Even weakened, his mind was alert, methodical, and precise. Lyria felt a wave of admiration mixed with relief. He was alive and sharp even after everything he had endured. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the canyon. Lyria froze, signaling for Ethan to stay still. The ground trembled beneath her feet as jagged rocks shifted and tumbled from the walls above. A small landslide blocked part of the path Ethan had been following. She realized immediately that moving forward would be dangerous, but waiting here was not an option either. Carefully, Lyria circled around the debris, finding a narrower path that would lead her closer to him. She kept her movements controlled, listening to the faint rustle of leaves and the distant sound of shifting crystals. This part of the expanse was alive with danger. Predators, unstable terrain, and sudden energy fluctuations made it one of the deadliest regions of the planet. Yet she pressed on, driven by the hope of reuniting with Ethan. Hours passed as Lyria navigated through the narrow canyon. She found abandoned campsites and broken equipment from other explorers. Most had not survived. Their presence was a grim reminder of the stakes, but it also reinforced her determination. If others had failed, she had to succeed. Ethan's life depended on it. As the sun began to set, Lyria reached a small plateau overlooking a valley. She could see Ethan resting near a cluster of glowing crystals. He had fashioned a crude shelter from the shards and vegetation. She could see that he was weak and malnourished, but he was alive. Relief washed over her, but she knew that the danger was far from over. Before she could move closer, a faint signal flickered on her energy tracker. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but unmistakable. Another human signature. Lyria narrowed her eyes. Could there be more survivors? She decided to investigate, knowing that helping others could also help Ethan. Moving cautiously, she followed the signal through a narrow tunnel formed by fallen crystal formations. The path was treacherous, requiring careful steps to avoid slipping or triggering unstable shards. The tunnel twisted and turned, creating shadows that seemed alive. Lyria's heart raced as she approached the source. At the end of the tunnel, she found a small group of humans, huddled together and wary of her presence. They were weak but alive. One of them stepped forward, raising a hand in greeting. Lyria smiled softly and lowered her hands. "I am not here to harm you. I am here to help." She explained that she was searching for a human named Ethan, and their faces lit up with recognition. "He is nearby," one of the humans said. "We saw him move toward the canyon. He is alone, but he is strong. He can survive," Lyria nodded. This confirmation strengthened her resolve. She would reach him before nightfall. The journey back toward Ethan was even more dangerous. The expanse was changing with the fading light. Crystal shadows shifted, creating illusions that could confuse even the most experienced navigator. Lyria moved carefully, using both her instincts and the ancient map she had studied. She adjusted her path to avoid predators that had been active during the night. As she approached Ethan's shelter, she called softly, "Ethan, it's me, Lyria, I am here." The wind carried her voice across the valley. He lifted his head slowly, his eyes wide with recognition. "Lyria?" he whispered, his voice hoarse from thirst and fatigue. She smiled and nodded, moving closer. When she reached him, she dropped to one knee and took his hands in hers. "I found you," she said. "You are alive. We will leave this place together." Ethan's eyes glistened with tears as he tried to stand. He was weak, but his determination was evident. "I knew you would come," he said. "I never gave up hope." Lyria helped him to his feet and guided him carefully down the slope. Every step was cautious. The valley was full of dangers, from shifting crystal surfaces to hidden predators. But together they moved steadily, each relying on the other's strengths. Ethan's human ingenuity complemented Lyria's alien agility. He found stable paths, calculated safe distances, and used his tools to test the terrain, while Lyria used her speed and knowledge of the expanse to protect and guide them. As they moved, Ethan shared his experiences. He had survived by using his environment wisely, conserving energy and avoiding predators. He had found small streams of water, edible plants, and even learned to navigate by the subtle glow of the crystals. Lyria listened intently, impressed by his resourcefulness. Humans were indeed fragile in many ways, but their creativity and courage were unmatched. Night fell, and the valley transformed under the light of Virelia's moons. The crystals reflected the moonlight, creating a maze of shadows and light. Lyria and Ethan set up a temporary camp, using the glowing crystals for light. They ate minimal rations and rested, knowing the journey was far from over. During the night, Lyria kept watch. She felt a deep connection to Ethan, stronger than ever. Their bond had survived distance, danger, and uncertainty. She realized that their partnership was not just about love. It was about trust, respect, and shared courage. Together they could face any challenge, and together they would survive. The next morning they continued their journey. The terrain became more treacherous, with sharp cliffs and unstable surfaces. Lyria led the way, scanning for dangers and marking paths for Ethan. They moved in silence, conserving energy, each step deliberate. The expanse tested them, but they pressed on, driven by hope and determination. Along the way they encountered other obstacles. A sudden crystal fissure forced them to climb a steep slope, testing their strength and teamwork. They worked together, with Ethan using his tools to secure handholds while Lyria provided guidance and support. Their coordination was perfect, demonstrating the power of human ingenuity combined with alien skill. As they reached a higher plateau, they finally had a clear view of the path ahead. The expanse stretched endlessly, but Lyria could sense that they were close to safety. She felt a surge of hope. Ethan was alive, and together, they would overcome the remaining challenges. Before descending, Lyria took a moment to scan the area with her energy detector. She noticed faint signals in the distance, likely other explorers or signs of civilization. They were not alone in this vast and dangerous world. The knowledge strengthened their resolve. Together they would survive and find their way back to safety. With renewed determination, Lyria and Ethan began their careful descent. The journey was still dangerous, but each step brought them closer to safety, closer to home. They moved as a team, their bond stronger than ever, their courage unbroken. The expanse had tested them, but it had not defeated them. Lyria looked at Ethan, her amber eyes meeting his determined gaze. "We will make it," she said softly. He nodded, a small smile forming despite exhaustion. "Together," he replied. And together they continued their journey through the dangerous, glittering world of Virelia. The valley opened up before Lyria and Ethan like a hidden world. Jagged crystal cliffs rose on all sides, and pools of glowing liquid reflected the green sunlight of Virelia. Lyria paused to scan the area with her energy detector. The signals she had seen the night before grew stronger. There was more life here than they had expected, but it was human life. Ethan followed her gaze. "Do you see it too?" he asked, his voice still hoarse from the ordeal. Lyria nodded, pointing to the faint, pulsing lights across the valley floor. "There are others," she said softly. "Humans like you." Ethan's eyes widened. He had assumed he was alone after the storm, that he had survived while others had perished. The thought of other survivors both thrilled and worried him. They began to descend carefully, using a narrow path that wound around the cliffs. Every step required caution. Sharp crystal shards jutted out unpredictably, and hidden fissures threatened to open beneath their feet. Lyria led the way, guiding Ethan with her alien agility and knowledge of the terrain. His human resilience kept them moving steadily, even when the climb was exhausting. As they reached the valley floor, the first signs of the other humans became visible. Small shelters had been constructed from crystal shards, and there were traces of fire and food storage. The humans appeared weak but alive. Some looked at Lyria and Ethan with suspicion, unsure whether to trust the alien woman. Lyria raised her hands in a peaceful gesture. "I am not here to harm you," she said. "I am here to help." One of the humans, a man with a scruffy beard and bright blue eyes, stepped forward. "Are you with him?" he asked, glancing at Ethan. Ethan nodded. "I am Ethan," he said. "And this is Lyria. She helped me survive." Relief and hope flashed across the human's face. "We thought we were the last," he said. "If you can help him, maybe we can all survive together." The group shared their story. They had been part of previous expeditions, caught in the same storm that nearly killed Ethan. Some had been trapped for days in underground caverns, others had hidden from predators. All had survived through ingenuity and teamwork. Lyria listened closely, impressed by the humans' resilience. They were fragile in body, yet their minds had adapted to every challenge. Lyria and Ethan offered to help them move to a safer location. She had seen a plateau nearby, partially shielded from the worst of the expanse's storms and predators. It was not perfect, but it offered a chance for everyone to regroup and recover. Ethan and the others agreed. Together they prepared for the journey. The climb to the plateau was difficult. The humans were weaker than Ethan, who had already endured significant hardship, and Lyria had to support them in several areas. She used her strength to lift those who stumbled, and her keen vision to find safe paths across treacherous crystal surfaces. The group's determination inspired her. proving once again that humans could endure more than anyone expected. Midway up the climb, Lyria noticed something strange. The crystals in one section of the cliff glowed faintly, almost as if they were pulsing with energy. She paused, scanning the area. The energy readings were unusual, different from the natural flow of the planet. "Wait," she whispered. "There is something here." Ethan joined her, examining the crystals with a small device he carried. "These readings," he said, frowning. "They are not natural. Someone has been here recently." Lyria's eyes narrowed. "Do you think it is a trap?" Ethan shook his head. "I do not know, but we need to be cautious." The group moved carefully, keeping to narrow ledges and using tools to secure their path. The pulsing energy from the crystals grew stronger as they approached. Then they discovered the source, a hidden research facility partially buried under crystal formations. It was abandoned but clearly built for human or humanoid use. Lyria's heart raced. "This could explain a lot," she said. She and Ethan entered the facility first, signaling the others to stay back. Inside, they found equipment that had been damaged by the storm but still functional. Computers and energy panels hummed faintly, indicating that some systems were operational. The facility had been used to study the expanse, and it seemed that humans had been trapped here for weeks. As they explored further, they discovered more shocking evidence. There were signs that Ethan and the others had been monitored, perhaps even tested. Some equipment bore human fingerprints, and notes indicated careful observation of human behavior. Ethan's jaw tightened. "They were studying us," he said. "This was not just a storm. Someone wanted to see if we could survive." Lyria's eyes widened. "We must find out who did this," she said. "And why." She scanned the facility for clues, noting energy sources and storage rooms. Some of the devices still emitted faint signals, likely capable of transmitting data. If they could access it, they might learn the truth about the people who had left them here. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the facility. Crystals outside shifted violently and the ground trembled. Lyria reacted immediately, guiding everyone toward a safer section of the facility. "Stay close," she shouted. "The ground is unstable." The humans followed her, trusting her guidance completely. Ethan helped, using his tools to stabilize weak areas and create safe handholds. When the tremors stopped, they took a moment to catch their breath. "That was too close," Ethan said, brushing dust from his clothes. "We cannot stay here. The facility is not safe for long." Lyria agreed. "We will need to move to the plateau. It is higher and safer from storms and predators." Before leaving, Lyria accessed one of the still-functioning computers. The device displayed fragments of data, revealing that the facility had been monitoring human survival skills, testing adaptability and resourcefulness in extreme conditions. The humans had unknowingly been part of an experiment. Lyria felt a mix of anger and determination. "We will survive," she said, "and we will make sure no one else suffers like this." The group began the final climb to the plateau. It was steep, with jagged rocks and crystal spires threatening every step. Lyria led, using her agility to find the safest path. Ethan and the others followed, exhausted but motivated. Each step was a test of strength and endurance, but together they moved steadily upward. Finally, they reached the plateau. It was open and flat, shielded by natural crystal formations. Small streams provided water, and patches of edible vegetation grew in shaded areas. Lyria scanned the surroundings for predators, confirming that it was safe for now. The humans set up temporary shelters using remaining materials from the facility and natural resources. As night fell, Lyria and Ethan sat together near a glowing crystal pool. They shared a small meal with the other humans, who were slowly recovering from exhaustion. The bond between them grew stronger. They had faced storms, predators, and hidden dangers together, yet they had survived. Lyria looked at Ethan and saw not just a human, but a survivor, a hero in his own right. Ethan met her gaze, his expression full of gratitude. "I could not have made it without you," he said softly. Lyria shook her head. "No, we made it together. Humans are strong, Ethan, but you are more than that. Your mind, your courage, your determination, they carried you through." He smiled, a faint but genuine curve of his lips. "And you saved me. I owe you everything." As they rested, Lyria reflected on what they had discovered. The expanse was dangerous, but human ingenuity, combined with her alien knowledge, had allowed them to survive. They had learned about hidden threats and mysterious experiments, but they had also learned the value of trust, teamwork and resilience. The night was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the crystals and the distant call of alien creatures. Lyria felt hope for the first time since the storm. Ethan was alive. The other humans were alive, and together they could face whatever challenges remained. The journey was far from over, but for now they were safe. Tomorrow they would continue their exploration, uncover more secrets of the expanse, and plan their escape from the dangers that still lingered. But tonight they rested. The glow of the crystals reflected in their eyes, a symbol of survival, courage, and hope. They had survived the storm, discovered the truth, and strengthened their bond. The adventure was not over, but they were ready for what lay ahead. The morning sun rose over the plateau, casting long green shadows across the crystal landscape. Lyria and Ethan stood at the edge, surveying the area. The other humans were awake and gathering water and food, slowly regaining strength after their grueling journey. Lyria felt a surge of pride and relief. They had survived together, but the journey was far from over. Lyria turned to Ethan. "We need to understand who created that facility," she said. "And why. There could be more humans trapped or at risk." Ethan nodded, his face set with determination. "We will find answers," he said. "We cannot leave anyone behind." They set out cautiously, moving toward the remnants of the facility they had discovered yesterday. The terrain was difficult, with sharp crystal shards jutting from the ground and occasional fissures threatening to open beneath their feet. Lyria led, using her agility and knowledge of the expanse to find the safest path. Ethan followed closely, helping the other humans navigate tricky spots with his tools and careful calculations. As they approached the facility, they noticed signs of recent activity. The faint hum of energy devices suggested that someone or something had been there. Lyria scanned the area with her detector. The energy patterns were familiar, similar to the human devices inside the abandoned research station. "We are not alone," she whispered. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "We must be careful," he said. "This could be the group that captured the others, or something worse." They entered the facility through a partially collapsed entrance. The interior was dark, with shards of crystal reflecting faint light from the energy panels. Lyria moved first, her senses alert to every sound. Ethan followed, carrying a small device to detect life signs. The other humans stayed close behind, trusting their guidance. In the largest chamber, they found a sight that took their breath away. There, alive and restrained by light energy bindings, was a human figure. Ethan's heart leapt. "No," he whispered. "It cannot be." Lyria's eyes glowed brighter. "Ethan," she said softly. "It is him." The human stirred, weak but conscious. His brown hair was disheveled, and his eyes widened as he saw them. "Ethan!" the figure called, and Ethan rushed forward, ignoring the faint pulse of energy surrounding the bindings. Lyria moved to support him, using her alien strength to carefully disable the energy restraints. The figure fell into Ethan's arms. Tears filled their eyes as they embraced. Lyria felt a deep, overwhelming relief. Ethan was safe, and now they had found another survivor. "You thought I was gone," Ethan said, his voice trembling. "I never gave up hope, and neither did she," he added, nodding at Lyria. The reunion was emotional, but there was little time to linger. Lyria scanned the facility again. The energy readings suggested more active systems, likely controlled remotely. "We need to move," she said. "This place is unstable, and the group that trapped you could return." Together, they guided the rescued human out of the chamber. Ethan checked the energy bindings, confirming they were fully disabled. The man, though weak, stood on his own, supported by Ethan and Lyria. The group made their way through the facility carefully, avoiding loose shards and unstable floors. Outside, the sun glinted off the crystal spires, and Lyria led them toward a safer area of the plateau. She noted hidden crevices and sheltered spots, creating a route that minimized exposure to predators and potential energy traps. Ethan used his tools to mark safe paths and to detect weak spots in the ground. Their teamwork was seamless, combining human ingenuity with alien skill. As they settled into the new safe area, they shared water and simple food. The rescued human, whose name was revealed to be Marcus, recounted his ordeal. He had been captured by an unknown faction and held in the facility for days, forced to endure tests and monitor other survivors. His strength had held, but only barely. Ethan listened, anger and determination burning in his eyes. Lyria's gaze was steady. "We will stop them," she said. No one else will suffer. Humans are strong, but they are not expendable. We will protect them. Marcus nodded weakly, grateful for her words. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Together we can survive and escape. We will not leave anyone behind. The day passed with careful planning. Lyria and Ethan studied the facility from a distance, mapping entrances and exits and identifying energy sources. They discovered that some of the systems were still operational, likely controlled by a remote group who monitored human survival experiments. The revelation was chilling, but it also gave them an opportunity. If they could disable the energy control system, they could free any other humans trapped elsewhere. That evening, Lyria and Ethan spoke privately. "We have to go back," Ethan said. "There could be others like Marcus, and the group that created the facility could still be active." Lyria nodded. "We will, but we must be cautious. The Expanse is dangerous and we cannot underestimate them." Their shared resolve strengthened their bond. The challenges ahead were immense, but together, they could face anything. Night fell and the plateau glowed under Virelia's moons. The crystals reflected light, creating a protective, almost magical environment. Lyria kept watch while Ethan and Marcus rested. She reflected on how far they had come, from the storm that separated them to their perilous journey and now the reunion with Marcus. Every step had been a test of courage, ingenuity, and resilience. Humans were indeed remarkable, surviving and adapting in ways she had never imagined. The following morning, Lyria led the group back toward the abandoned facility, intent on fully disabling the energy systems. The climb was difficult with jagged crystal surfaces and narrow ledges, but the humans had grown stronger after days of survival and teamwork. They moved carefully, Lyria guiding and Ethan assisting with tools and calculations. As they reached the facility, Lyria and Ethan split the group. Marcus and the others stayed behind to secure the safe area, while Lyria and Ethan entered to locate the main control system. Inside, they navigated corridors of broken crystal and faint energy hums. Every step required precision. The energy readings fluctuated, suggesting automated defenses. Lyria's agility and careful observation kept them safe, while Ethan's human problem-solving allowed them to bypass obstacles that could have trapped anyone else. Finally, they reached the control chamber. The system was complex, a mix of human and alien technology, but Ethan's skill with engineering devices allowed him to understand its functions quickly. Lyria provided guidance and stability, handling delicate components with her dexterity. Working together, they disabled the energy controls and freed the remaining active systems. With the system disabled, the facility fell silent. Energy fields vanished and corridors once dangerous became safe. Lyria and Ethan stepped outside, greeted by Marcus and the other humans. Relief and triumph filled the air. They had succeeded. Not only had they rescued Marcus, but they had also neutralized the system that could have harmed others. Lyria looked at Ethan, her amber eyes shining. "We did it," she said softly. He smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "Together," he replied. Marcus joined them, offering a small, grateful smile. "I thought I would never see freedom again," he said. "You saved us all." The group gathered on the plateau, sharing a quiet moment of victory. The sun rose higher, reflecting off the crystals in brilliant colors. For a brief time, they allowed themselves to rest, to feel relief, and to celebrate survival. They had faced storms, predators, unknown forces, and hidden dangers, yet they had emerged victorious. But even as they rested, Lyria knew the journey was not over. The expanse was vast and full of mysteries. Other humans might still be trapped, and the forces behind the facility could still be active. Their work was far from finished. Yet with Ethan by her side and the survivors they had rescued, she felt confident. They could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The reunion had strengthened their bond, not just as lovers but as partners in survival and exploration. Lyria and Ethan had proven that human ingenuity, courage, and resilience could overcome even the most dangerous circumstances. Together, they were unstoppable. As the day ended, Lyria and Ethan stood on the edge of the plateau, looking out over the expanse. The wind rustled through the crystal spires, carrying with it the scent of hope and the promise of adventure. They would continue their journey, uncover more secrets, and protect any humans still in danger. The reunion was just the beginning, but it marked a turning point. They had found each other, and together they would face the future. The morning sun cast long shadows across the plateau as Lyria, Ethan, Marcus, and the other humans prepared to leave the facility behind. The group had rested and regained strength, but the journey back through the expanse was still fraught with danger. Every step required focus, but their determination had grown stronger after overcoming the facility and rescuing the survivors. Lyria led the group, scanning the terrain with her keen alien eyes. She knew the dangers of the expanse well: unstable crystals, hidden predators, and sudden energy surges. But she also knew that humans were capable of more than most expected. Ethan walked beside her, helping others navigate the rough terrain. Together they had formed a bond of trust and respect, a partnership that combined human ingenuity with alien skill. As they descended toward a safer valley, the expanse seemed less threatening than before. Lyria and Ethan had learned to anticipate its shifts, to read the subtle changes in light and energy that indicated danger. Their teamwork allowed them to move quickly and safely, even as the jagged crystals and deep fissures demanded constant attention. Halfway through the valley, Lyria noticed faint energy signals ahead. She paused, signaling the group to stop. Ethan examined the readings with his device. "It could be another group," he said. "Or a trap. We need to approach carefully." Lyria nodded. They moved cautiously, each step deliberate. Soon they discovered a small hidden enclave, where another group of humans had taken shelter. They were wary at first, but Marcus explained their story and reassured them that Lyria and Ethan were allies. The humans shared resources and offered guidance through the safest paths of the expanse. Lyria observed the humans closely. She marveled at their resilience and adaptability. Even after days of hardship, they continued to survive, support each other, and maintain hope. The group pressed on, navigating through narrow canyons and across crystal plains. Lyria's alien agility and vision allowed her to find paths others could not see. Ethan's quick thinking and technical skills ensured that obstacles could be overcome safely. Together they inspired the humans around them. Every challenge they faced, unstable terrain, hidden predators, and sudden energy surges, was met with courage and determination. As night approached, the group found a safe cave for shelter. They lit small fires using preserved energy crystals which provided light without attracting predators. They shared food and water, grateful for the opportunity to rest. Lyria and Ethan sat together near the cave entrance, their hands brushing as they discussed the next stage of their journey. "We are close to the edge of the expanse," Lyria said. "After that it is safer, though still challenging. We will need to stay vigilant until we reach the outer lands." Ethan nodded. "We will make it," he said. "Humans endure, and with you I feel we can face anything." Lyria smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Their bond had grown stronger with every challenge, every danger, and every moment of survival. The following day, the group resumed their journey. They crossed crystal plains that reflected the sunlight in dazzling patterns, navigated through tunnels carved by natural energy flows, and climbed ridges that required every ounce of strength and focus. Lyria and Ethan worked together seamlessly, guiding, protecting, and inspiring the humans who had once been lost. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the valley. Lyria froze, scanning the area. Ethan checked his device. "A predator," he said calmly. "But it is not moving randomly. It is hunting." Lyria's amber eyes glowed. "We must stay together and stay calm. Fear will make mistakes." The creature emerged from behind a crystal ridge, massive and covered in dark reflective scales. Its eyes glowed faintly and its movements were deliberate. Lyria signaled for the humans to stay behind her, forming a protective line with Ethan by her side. Together they guided the group, using quick maneuvers and careful timing to avoid the predator. Ethan devised a simple but clever trap. Using spare equipment and energy crystals, he created a diversion that drew the predator's attention away from the humans. Lyria used her speed and agility to lead the creature into the trap, ensuring that it could not harm anyone. The plan worked perfectly. The predator was distracted and unable to attack, giving the group a clear path forward. Once the danger had passed, the humans cheered softly, their relief evident. Lyria and Ethan shared a quiet moment of satisfaction. "That was close," Ethan said, smiling faintly. Lyria nodded. "But we survived. Together." Their partnership had proven itself in every test from the storm to the expanse and now against living threats. As they continued, the landscape began to change. The jagged crystal formations gave way to smoother terrain, and the dangerous energy fluctuations became less frequent. They were nearing the outer lands, the region where explorers had first landed on Virelia. Lyria felt hope growing stronger with every step. By the time they reached the edge of the expanse, the humans were exhausted, but alive. They looked back at the glittering maze of crystals, marveling at the dangers they had overcome. Marcus turned to Lyria and Ethan. "I never imagined we could survive this," he said. "You showed us that humans and allies working together can achieve anything." Ethan smiled, looking at Lyria. "We never gave up hope," he said. "That is what carried us through." Lyria nodded, her heart full. "Humans endure," she said softly, "and they are stronger than anyone imagines." The group descended into the outer lands where forests of soft green trees replaced the crystal plains. Water flowed freely and the air was fresh and warm. Lyria and Ethan guided the humans to safety, using the knowledge they had gained to navigate efficiently. The journey that had begun with fear and uncertainty now ended with triumph and relief. Once they reached the settlement, the humans were welcomed and celebrated. News of their survival spread quickly. Lyria and Ethan were hailed as heroes, not just for their courage, but for their ingenuity, teamwork, and determination. The humans they had rescued shared stories of their survival, inspiring others across the settlement. For Lyria, the journey had been transformative. She had learned the depth of human courage, resilience, and intelligence. She had seen their determination to survive, adapt, and help each other. And she had seen it not as fragile beings, but as extraordinary partners capable of facing impossible challenges. Ethan, too, had grown. His time in the expanse had tested his mind, body, and spirit. He had learned to rely on his instincts, think creatively, and work seamlessly with an alien ally. He understood the value of trust, partnership, and the strength of a bond forged in adversity. Together, Lyria and Ethan walked through the settlement, holding hands and sharing quiet smiles. They had survived storms, predators, and hidden dangers, yet their love and partnership had grown stronger. They had proven that humans, when combined with courage, ingenuity, and allies, could overcome even the most extreme challenges. As the sun set over the settlement, the sky painted in shades of green and gold, Lyria and Ethan stood at the edge of a cliff, looking out over the lands they had crossed. "We did it," Ethan said softly. "We survived, and we helped others survive too." Lyria nodded. "This is just the beginning," she said. "There are more mysteries, more challenges, and more adventures. But together we can face anything." The humans they had rescued joined them, sharing stories, laughter, and relief. The bond formed during the journey created a community of survivors, united by courage and hope. Lyria and Ethan realized that their story had inspired others, proving that human spirit and determination could overcome any obstacle. Night fell, and the stars shone brightly over Virelia. Lyria and Ethan looked at each other, knowing that the future held endless possibilities. They had faced storms, dangers, and unknown forces, yet they had survived. Their love, courage, and partnership had been tested and strengthened. In the quiet of the night, Lyria whispered to Ethan, "We are stronger together. Humans endure, and so do we." Ethan smiled, taking her hand. "Together," he said, and together they looked toward the horizon, ready for whatever adventures awaited them. The journey through the expanse had ended, but their story was far from over. Lyria and Ethan had faced the impossible, survived, and emerged stronger. They had proven that courage, ingenuity, and partnership could overcome any challenge. And as they stood on the cliff surrounded by the humans they had saved, they knew that their bond, and the human spirit they celebrated, would endure forever.